122 Python class, and I should mention there are a bunch of special events coming up. Computer Science Club has a guest speaker. There's an agentic AI infrastructure demo coming up on Saturday, and a meeting of AI agents and a couple more AI events. All these things are worth extra credit if you go to them. All right, and so let's take a look at the chapter this time, which is this one here. Chapter 14, Classes and Functions. So we've used built-in functions before, but now we're going to define our own types. So this is object-oriented programming. You can define a class called time, and here you just put in a comment at the top and no more information. You defined a class called time, but you haven't specified anything about it yet. But still, now it's a type of object. Now you can create lunch, which is a time object, by using parentheses. So let me run these. That creates the class. This creates lunch, which is a time object, and if you look at its type, it is time, okay? Now you can print it, and it will just tell you it's a time object and has an address, but it doesn't yet have any attributes or methods, no active code and no data stored in it yet, but we can just create that data. We can create we can create attributes, hour, minute, and second here, and then it'll show you the state of this in these diagrams that they like to make here. So time, there's an object called lunch, and it has attributes, hour, minute, and second. Each of those have a value. So now it's a time object. Now you can read lunch.hour, and you can use it as part of an expression. So I could take lunch.hour times 60 plus lunch.minute, and I get the total number of minutes since the start of this day. And you can, of course, use that in a formatted string, hours, minutes, and seconds, and get something. This looks pretty good, but there ought to be a 0 in front of the 1. So if you want to really make it look right, you add these format specifiers, 02D and 02D. And now you'll get 11:59:01, which is, a properly formatted hour, minute, and second. So now I can pass an object as an argument in the usual way. I can print time of time, and then print time.hour, time minute, and time second. So this is going to need to have a time object come in. And so if you print time of lunch, it'll print it out. Now, one thing I wonder is I don't see anything here that told it that time was a time object with a capital T, right? We defined it as, capital T. So I'm wondering what would happen if I tried to pass it something that was not a time object. I assume it will create an error. Let's try that. Let's print time of something that is not a time object, like say 1, and see what it does with that. Right, it's going to complain saying int object has no attribute hour. Okay, fair enough. All right, so now functions can return objects, of course. So here we're going to take hour, minute, and second. We're going to create a new time object, assign this value, and then return it as a time object. So you can return anything. All right. And I see a comment. Anthropic will wait until big companies use Mythos to patch vulnerabilities before releasing it. Yeah, the companies that are not invited are to be at high risk. Yes, that's true. Well, yes, you could argue about that. However, to be fair, there's the usual justification. All the other companies are making similar models, so just not releasing it at all would not be a logical move. Anyway, all right, so this will return a time object. Now I can make a time, 11:59:01, and now I get the time object. Okay, and objects are mutable, which is a good thing to know, so we can add to it. We can start and make time there, and then we can get the end time by adding an hour and 32 minutes to it. And so now we'll get 10:52. So if a movie starts at this time, that's when the movie might end. All right, so you can now make increment time where it takes an incoming time and adds this many hours, minutes, and seconds to it. And so here you can take 9:20, 0, and add 132 to it and get 10:52. So again, you've got one of these little graphical diagrams to show you. You start here, in comes time, and then you increment the time by this amount. All right, now, this function works, but we're left with a variable start that represents the end time. That's true. When we increment it, it changes this start to there, so that's a little bit unprofessional. All right. It would be better to leave start unchanged and make a new object, so you can do that with copying. If you import the copy function, you can copy anything. So now we can start with a new time object, Here's one that's 920. Now we're going to make a copy. And now start and end contain the same data. They're both 920, but they are not equal to each other. They have different addresses. So we can change one without changing the other. And the equals equals operator just also compares to see if they're identical, not just if they have the same value, but if they're actually identical objects, which they are not. So now we can make a pure function. When we take in time, hours, minutes, and seconds, the previous function modified this time. So that's that sort of crazy thing where you pass in an argument and then you modify the argument. The pure function doesn't modify the arguments. So we make a copy of the time, we increment the time, and then we return the new time. This is a pure function. The only thing that comes out of it is what it returns. It doesn't change the variables that come in. So now end is add time. And now you can print time of end. You didn't change start. You have, we can print start. Start has not been changed here. If I can highlight this whole line, which is not letting me do easily, there we are. All right. So I can now print start and see start. Yes, start is still what it was and end is now there. So we have two separate time objects. All right. And that's what this does, show the same thing. All right, so that's a pure function. It doesn't modify the arguments, it only returns a value. All right, and so pure functions are probably a better practice in general to make things comprehensible. Like I often say, I really don't like people getting too fancy with their coding. I'd rather have people make code that is easy to understand and doesn't use these difficult to follow tricks like modifying the input arguments. Anyway, yeah, I agree with these guys. Write pure functions whenever it's possible. All right, so now these work, but you're going to notice it doesn't quite work. If we start at 9:40 and then have a movie that's an hour and 32 minutes, we're going to end up in 1072. We forgot to roll over numbers that are 60 and above over to here. So that's not really getting the right answer. So we can make an improved function. It's going to check to see if the seconds are over 60 and if the minutes are over 60. And that'll be better, although I think it's still going to have a problem if we have add time near midnight. Anyway, that's a better one. So now we'll get 1112 instead of 1072, which is what we got before. All right. But the arguments might be bigger than 60. Suppose we give 92 minutes rather than 1 hour, then we're still going to get a problem here. So there's a different approach. We can use div mod. We can make a copy of the start and calculate, get the end minute. Okay. All right. Now we have 132, so we can use div mod to take the total number of minutes, divide by 60, and keep the carry and the end minute here. So we're going to have 2 to carry, and so now we can add the carry here. That's one way to do it. You can do the same thing with hours and seconds. So by using div mod, you can deal with these numbers no matter how big they get. That's one possible way to do it. And I think what you're going to end up here is seeing why Unix time is the way it is. You can see what a mess this is. Hours, minutes, and seconds are kind of nonsense. So a much better plan would be to think about this, and what would be much better would be to just have an integer, which is the number of seconds, and just count time in that, and then just format it in hours, minutes, and seconds just to display to the user, but keep track of it just in int. And this is, of course, what Unix does. Time is the number of seconds since January 1, 1970. Now here, they're just taking seconds today. But, you know, in general, that's what Unix time is, the number of seconds since January 1, 1970. And that's a nice, simple way to have a clear object where you can calculate time differences and you can print it out as a date and a time anytime you want to. So this is just going to calculate the number of seconds since the start of the day, minutes, and then seconds is minutes times 60 plus the remaining seconds. So this will tell you how many seconds there is. So if I go 10101, that's going to be 3661, 3600 for an hour, 60 seconds for a minute, and one more. So here's a function that goes in the other direction, taking the number of seconds and using div mod to break it into hours, minutes, and seconds. So you can turn it back in 10101. So that's pretty good. And now, of course, adding time is easy. You're just going to take hours, minutes, and seconds, turn it into seconds, and add to the number of seconds. So that's it. So now we're taking 940, we're going to add an hour 32, and we're going to get to 1112. But we did it by turning it all into seconds and back, which is probably a much better way to do it. All right. And so some useful debugging things. You can do the type of things to see what it is. You can do isInstance to see if it's an instance of a class. You can see whether it has an attribute with hasAttr. You can get all the attributes with vars. I'll show you the attributes of an object. And in this chapter, they use this thing called struct shape that draws some kind of representation of the shape of an object. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to show you there. And I'm going to stop this recording.